welcome back to the Partner Up Podcast. I'm Sergio.
And I'm Kimberly.
Welcome back, and we're on episode 20. We're 2 episodes away, Kimberly. 2 episodes. I need to find that statistic. Why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about while I find that statistic?
So, I'm still sick because we're actually recording this, 2 days after we recorded the episode we just
released? Felt like I
released?
just finished doing this.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it again.
But we're recording it early because somebody's birthday, as we said last episode, is upon us. And we're going to be having your family come over this weekend to celebrate. And we wanted to, get this done. So I'm drinking orange juice, which might be weird because I feel like orange juice makes me feel better. But yeah, we're going to be talking about you today.
Oh my God. Why me?
Because you're turning the big 30. And I did not get to celebrate my birthday, my 30th, that big because I was pregnant. And I just wasn't in the mood to do anything huge. I don't even remember what we did for my birthday. But I really want to talk about you and just, 30 I think is a big milestone because even though it's we've been an adult for a while, it's you're a real adult now. We say that as you had a job, we're married and we have a child, right? But I feel 30's no more messing around. You got to get it together. That's it.
So when I think about my life, I think about being a kid and just surviving.
Uh-huh.
Right? Just having fun, trying not to be bored.
Yeah.
And that's all of elementary school. And middle school was getting a little bit prepared. And then for me, high school through college was just a setup.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So set up for my 20s so I can have a good job.
Uh-huh.
So that eventually in my 30s, I can have fun. Yeah. So to me, I feel like everything I've been doing so far, it should start paying off now.
Yeah. Oh, so you don't think anything you did before paid off? I mean, look at everything we've done.
Slowly. Yeah. But it's all been chess. A couple of pieces have fallen off the board. A couple have moved forward. Uh-huh. Knight takes rook, But look, we are moving on. We're moving forward. And, I just feel like we're building.
What would you say, and, you don't have to say anything with me, but what was, your favorite memory of your 20s? From 20 to 29.
Having a daughter.
I know you got to have a baby in your 20s. I did not.
That's right.
How lucky, because I had always wanted to have a baby.
I still had my youth when I had a
youth.
daughter.
Yep. You did.
That's what this podcast is eventually going to divulge. Back when I was a kid.
Back in my day.
We didn't say skibbity toilet. I remember thinking how why do the boomers hate the millennials so much? I don't understand how they don't understand us. They don't understand our music. It makes perfect sense. These guys don't get it. And then I saw Gen Alpha, Skibbity Toilet, Ohio. I'm like, I get it.
They have a point.
They might have had a point.
Yeah, I've seen some videos where they talk about their slang, and I'm like, what is that? I don't get it at all.
And I saw a guest professor or something who came to a middle school or high school or something like that, uh-huh. and rewrote a speech in Gen Alpha or Gen Z slang, something like that. And I was like, I hate chat. How's it going? It's Ohio to be here today, but now it's just cringe. It's cringe talk all the time.
Physically hurts.
Yes. And all the kids were laughing because it made sense. You could follow it. I think Gen Z was the last generation that I was able to keep up with slang, but that's because most of my friends are younger than
you,
me.
Yeah.
And I think I am the oldest possible Gen Z, and you are the youngest possible millennial.
Yeah, because ends in 90. No, millennial ends in 94. It's kind of controversial. Where does millennial end and Gen Z begin? Mm-hmm. But in my head, I'm a millennial. I'm the last of them. I'm 94. And you're 95, and that's Gen Z.
That's the split.
Yeah, we're split. So
that's right, brah.
Oh my gosh. So, tell us about your 20s. You did a lot. You did a lot in your 20s. 10 years. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
You graduated. You moved away from home. You started dating me. You got married and moved in together, had a baby.
Man,
That's a lot.
That's a lot to do in what I don't consider to be a long time. Like, it doesn't feel.
You do. You feel like your 20s.
10.
I feel like my 20s lasted forever. I wanted to just get out of them.
Yeah, because you weren't enjoying it, right?
Yeah,
like, if you're like, look, most people my age right now, and I don't mean to brag. Like, this is just the climate that's going on.
Humble
right now.
brag, if you may.
No, not everybody had my dad. Okay, but most
your
millennials
mom,
can't
come
afford a
on.
home. They're struggling in jobs. They're living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yeah.
Like, the only reason, and I mean, I'll say it here and I'll say it anywhere. You know it. Everybody who talks to me knows it's because my parents coached me from so young. They didn't come from money, so nobody out there thinking that like, oh, this rich kid, nepo baby. No, my parents did not come from money. They weren't from money. They came into money for a little bit of time, and then the recession hit, and we were just back along with everybody else. We got pretty low, and my parents just passed on their knowledge to me. So like, I think we had one of those episodes when I talked about the like passing on knowledge, and that's like the true, like, not rich, but like the true wealth is passing on the knowledge of how to keep your wealth.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I felt my parents did. They got there once, and then circumstances happened to where we all went back a little back down, and now we had to build ourselves back up. But they passed on their knowledge along the way, and I've just been working on that ever since. Like, I'm the kind of person who learns from other people's mistakes. I don't wait to make my own mistakes. So I wasn't like, screw you, Dad, you don't understand me, Mom. No, I was like, all right, bet, okay, got it. I see what you mean, and I will do that. I'll make sure that I follow your lead, and it's been paying off ever since.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So you never went to like rebellious, in your, most people in their 20s like kind of leave their home
tell
base.
me I did. Apparently, I was very rebellious, and I stood up to what's it called, authority.
The man.
Yeah.
Well, you did talk about in the previous episode how you didn't like authority.
That wasn't without reason, though. That teacher straight up like had it against me.
Yeah.
So like, what am I supposed to do as an impressionable young person?
Yeah. I don't think you did. You always were the type to like listen to your parents and like do whatever your parents like, needed or wanted. And that was from my perspective. Maybe from your parents' perspective, that wasn't how, as your girlfriend, partner, whatever, like from my perspective, that's the way it seemed. But I think in comparison, yeah, you were goody two shoe compared to like a lot of other people that were in their 20s and like, sticking it to the man or their parents or whatever.
Yeah, no. I remember I had an option to come to college at UT Austin or stay in UTRGV. Uh-huh. And when I looked at the cost on either side, it was just much more financially responsible to stay and get my degree at UTRGV than to move out and get another degree. And I started looking at the computer science programs, and it's a UT system, so they were all pretty much the same. The only difference is the network of people you get when you leave, which is what I argue would be
that
would have been
worth it.
Yes,
because I think what we've learned together and what you've definitely learned on your own is that it's kind of about who you know.
It's 100% about who you know. Like
in certain industries,
I would say 40% of what it takes to make it is knowledge, skill. 60% is who you know. Because you can have all the tools available to you. You can, let's say you're making a business of furniture, right? You can be the best carpenter in the city.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to sell, you don't have customers, you don't know who can teach you how to sell, you don't know how to acquire those customers, that shop's not going to last long.
Yeah.
Right? You can have all these ideas on how to make the best furniture. You can go and you can be pointing around and be like, look at that sofa. That sofa is the person who made that sofa doesn't know what they're doing because blah, 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 blah. You can live your life pointing out the flaws in other furniture, but your furniture is never going to get sold. I feel like I'm projecting.
You are projecting. And if we would have stayed in the valley, like maybe things would be different because like we know a lot of people in the valley and stuff. But I think
I don't think so.
I think so. I am glad we moved because one, I want our kids to like the valley when they go visit, but I also think it's, there's better opportunities here. There's always going to be better opportunities in bigger cities, like no matter what anyone says.
It's what I have been doing is I've been putting a lot of chips into my career, right? But career only gets you so far, right? So like there's two paths that you can get by, and that's being employed or being an entrepreneur, right? And everybody thinks being an entrepreneur is like, oh, I'm gonna be my own boss, and like has this like fantasy about it. But it's not the same. The difference is that the entrepreneurship is uncapped, right? You don't have a ceiling as to how much you're gonna make.
Yeah.
And in the career path, unless you're like a lawyer, a real estate agent, or like very specific types of employees, you're always going to be capped by your employer.
Yeah.
So like your salaries you're only going to make as much as your salaries that you agree to.
What is it called? Like the salary ranges or like I can't think of the word, but like whatever your title is, like there's always going to be like a certain like cap that they have for them, a lower end and a higher end.
Exactly. So like I knew that all the, I don't want to say training, but all the effort that I was putting in school and in learning computers and tech and all that stuff, going to college, it was going to pay off well for my career, and it has. Right, I have a good job. I'm pretty stable. I've consistently been able to climb the ladder, but I know there's going to come a time when that's going to hit a ceiling in my particular path. So unless I start getting into those very particular employment, like what would you call them, like jobs?
Yeah.
I mean, those specific career roles that are untapped by their salary. The only way to move up is through entrepreneurship, but it's smart entrepreneurship. I'm not going to go and start, selling knives, selling multi-level marketing, that kind of stuff. No. Yeah. It's smart entrepreneurship. I'm thinking like private equity, thinking of investing in small businesses, taking over. Like, it's the things that actually give you a long-term return versus the get-rich-quick schemes.
Yeah. So I feel like you've gone through a lot your whole life, but I'm focusing mostly on your 20s here, right? Because this is your birthday episode about like what you've learned, especially like I would say like the latter part of your 20s. What is some advice you would give to people who maybe are having a difficult time? And like, we won't get into specifics if you're not comfortable with it, but you've been through a lot. If you think about from 20 to 29, like personally, family-wise, career-wise, like you don't have to give examples of like what you've been through, but what is some advice you'd give to like, say some general scenarios to people who maybe are in a tough spot?
I've had a couple of career and life like pivotal moments. Yeah. I can think of two immediately.
Okay.
The first one that comes to mind is when I first moved to Austin. I had my new job, and my family had a health scare. Somebody in my family might be diagnosed with something that was going to be pretty devastating if it was true. And because healthcare is so expensive here in the United States, our natural response is, well, we have to go to Mexico and get the good healthcare over there because we can pay in dollars. So we're like, let's go over there and get our money's worth in medical care because the U.S. just does not cut it under insurance. So at that point, the conversation was, well, we're going to go to Mexico and we're going to get all these things done. My family had just come to visit me in Austin, and they were about to leave. And they're like, just wanting to keep you in the loop on what's going on. And then I had to make a call. I'm like, well, what's the kind of professional that I'm going to want to be? Am I going to be the one that a family member gets sick and I can't call, I put work above that? Or am I going to be the person that figures it out and make sure they don't compromise on family? And that day I made the decision. I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I put in all this work to be in a position, in a job that gives me the flexibility to be able to be there for my family.
Yeah, because like we'll say some people don't have that luxury. Like honestly, and like I've always thought this about you guys have it pretty good because like a lot of times like my dad had to go work somewhere sometimes and he wasn't around for, you know, holidays, birthdays and stuff like that. And you guys always made an effort to be there together. And I've always thought like you're very, very lucky because a lot of people don't have the luxury, but they're doing it because they're putting their family first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not all luck. We put in the work to lay down the foundation so that when we ended up where we did, we were able to have that flexibility. But I mean, yeah, it's there's a certain amount of luck to landing the positions that we're in and getting the jobs that we have. So I made sure that at that point not to be afraid of flexing what I've worked for, to make sure that I could be there for my family. So advice number one is never compromise on family, you know. And I mean, I have a good family. I'm blessed to say that I have a great mom, dad, sisters, the whole thing. So our core unit has been great and we're very tight. So I know some families are not like that. There are toxic family members that you need to get away from, but not my particular family unit. So my advice is, if your family unit is like my family unit, don't give it up, because a lot of people are making decisions based on their family unit and they'll try to influence you based on their family unit, but they might have a toxic family unit and you might have a good one and you might be influenced by those decisions, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I have a great unit, a great support system, so I made sure to make it a point to never compromise on family. That was the first point.
Yeah.
The second point was, well, obviously my career has always been a focal point because it's what drives not just me. Like, I never want to be successful for me. When I go to church and I pray, yes, I'm praying for like, get me this job, give me this promotion, give me this thing, but it's never for me. For me, I will say it does have its benefits for me because I get to buy myself, you know, nice little mixers and laptops and I have a graphics card when I need it. But for me, it's always been able to help out my family. And whenever someone needs me, that I can be in a position to help. So that's what I pray for. That's what I always look for. It's not about the money itself. It's about using that money so you're in a position, you're not in a vulnerable position financially speaking. And if you come into trouble, you have the funds to respond, because those are your resources. That's why I really like games like Monopoly, Risk, Catan, where you strategically allocate your resources so that something happens and then the robber lands on your thing and now you can't get rocked for the next 3 turns. So what are you going to do? Well, good thing you have a bunch of sheep and you strategically piled all these things. So in case of a rainy day, you were able to attack, or you can negotiate with somebody who has the red tiles because you bought all of Boardwalk and what's the other one? The blue one, the two that Park Place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Boardwalk and Park Place, right?
Okay, I thought it was Broadway.
Or Broadway yeah. And Boardwalk anyway, because you know that there's those players who, I'm just going to sit on those, but you have a better strategy and you use those as negotiating tactics. Yeah. All right. So I love games like that because I'm very strategic. And it's not about money. It's about the resources.
Yeah.
So
side note, we haven't played Monopoly in a long time and I miss playing it.
We have a whole collection of Monopoly behind us. Yeah. I remember I showed my boss. He's like, I didn't know they made so many versions of Monopoly. I'm like, this isn't even half of what exists.
Yeah.
We have a version of Monopoly that it's called The Longest Monopoly. We've never played it.
The Longest Road, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they don't even know if the money that came packaged in the game is enough to play it. So what they say is, if you run out of money, tear the bills in half, and they're each worth their same denomination.
Yeah.
So if you have 100, tear it in half, now you have 100 and 100.
You could double your money.
Yeah. But all this to say that the focus, you might think that means, oh, this guy's like obsessed with this job and has like no balance in family life. But I just said never compromise on family. So I make sure to compartmentalize my job and family. So I'm never digging into family time when I'm in work and vice versa. But at the same time, you got to realize that at the end of the day, you're just a number in a company. They will replace you and boot you out. So,
oh, yes, I know.
So never like to go above what's expected of you or the return that you're getting in that job.
Yep.
Because ultimately, if you're not doing it for a strategic purpose, then there's no other benefit for you. Yep. No one is going to go, oh man, I'm going to revolt because this person got let go, or because this person was part of the layoffs, or because this person didn't get the promotion. Most of the time, no one's going to go to bat for you. I mean, we're not all Sam Altman at OpenAI.
Yeah.
And when they fired him, the whole company threatened to quit. That's not going to happen for 99% of us.
Yeah.
So I've also put a huge emphasis and know that when you're at work, you put in a good amount of effort. You can go above and beyond, but don't sacrifice yourself.
Don't kill yourself
job.
for your job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, you can ask everybody, like anybody I work with, like I'm constantly trying to figure out how to go above and beyond my Call of Duty there at work and get the skills that I have, because the industry that I'm going in, it's a little bit dated industry. They're a little bit behind in tech, and I come from startups. So I have a lot of up-to-date knowledge in the industry. So I'm coming in and I'm seeing how they're a little bit behind, and I'm trying my best to adapt their current way of working and the current resources that they have with modern practices so that they can catch up. And that is not my job. My job is to manage my team and just make sure that what's expected of the team gets done. But I'm going above and beyond to prove that, because I'm still wanting to impress my boss, impress my get more salary, get promotions, and doing all that. But I'm not going to stop that from going to the movies with Aurelia and you, or going to a swim lesson, or going and missing or taking PTO. A lot of people don't take their PTO because they want to stay at work. I make it a point to be there at my job, not just do my best, try to do better than my best, but at the same time not sacrifice myself or my family for my job.
Yeah. As your wife, I can say that you do a pretty good job. There are some moments where like I feel like the balance like goes back and forth, like tips a little bit. Like there are some times where you have to focus a little bit more on work, which is understandable. There's like seasons throughout the year of different industries. But I would say overall, like you do a pretty good job of like, sometimes I think you're going to stay upstairs, like working on your side gigs after 5. But then like you walk into the room and you're like, hey, it's 5. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you're here. So like, then we'll do something, or we'll start making food and you'll hang out with Aurelia while I do that. So I'd say you without me even telling you.
Yeah.
You'll just be like, oh yeah, here I am.
I've always been very disciplined. I don't know where that came from. I think it came from my mom.
Yeah.
My mom is very like, oh no, I did this. I have to do this. And I'm like, Mom, no one's making you do this. And it's like, it's not about anyone. It's about like me. I'm doing this for me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And a lot of times I thought she was crazy, but like now I'm doing it. Like I remember I just went cold turkey keto from like one time to the other. And I remember Yadesi said, my sister Yadesi said, oh, Sergio can probably do cocaine and be fine. Everyone's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, he cut sugar, and sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So statistically speaking, like, no, Yadesi.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah, but I was in keto for a very long time, and my Achilles heel of food is chips. I love my Takis, my hot Cheetos. Ask anybody I went to high school with. I remember my friend Alyssa. She would always give me a hard time because she'd be like, "It's 9 a.m. and you're eating Takis." I'm like, "They're leftovers from movie night." And she's like, "Oh no, you and your chips."
I gotta take you off the chip. Well, actually, I found some keto chips
They're never keto. You gotta double check them.
It's true.
You always have to check them against your blood level and see if they have an insulin spike.
That's true. Gosh, I learned that during my pregnancy because like you think some things are good for you and then they're not.
They're not.
Whenever I had to check my sugar after every meal, dang, that was a big eye opener. But yeah, so good advice, good thoughts, and so that was very like, inspiring. Your advice, and I didn't know I asked you what your favorite memory or thing was, and you're like, having my baby. Like, what is your actual like favorite memory, or like, even if it's a couple of different ones from your 20s? Like, think about it from early 20s. I know those were kind of rough. Mid 20s, maybe like mid 20s and late 20s. Like, what are your favorite things? And you don't have to say our wedding and our honeymoon. You don't have to, but one of my favorite memories.
I sacrificed a lot, and not just like for career. Like, yes, it was for my career, but I had a group of friends that we were very close, or at least I thought we were very close. And I was friends with them halfway through college and all of high school. And something happened and we were no longer friends. It was a hard cut, and it was rough.
I remember I was there.
So, honestly, it was just you and me in school at that point. So I just threw myself at school, and a little part of me like just wanted to be better at something. So like my friends have always been better than me at like League of Legends and video games that we played. I've never been the worst one, but I'm always not the best one either. Like, I just want to be best at something, and like I made sure I was focusing on school, and like I'm like, this is gonna be the thing. So once I came out of college, I was like, all right, well, what now? I just looked at you and we're like, what are we gonna do now? We were in Austin, and I started building up a little piggy bank. So like coming from the lows, I started building myself back up, to the point where we got to our wedding. I got this house here. And at that point, I don't know which job I was in, but either way, there was a shift in my career, and I was in between jobs at the time, but we got married. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think one of the coolest thing I can say that we've done is I didn't have a job. I was in between jobs at the time, but we were able to have 2 weddings and a honeymoon, just based on like the savings that I had done and all the like the foundation I had built.
Yeah.
So when they tell you to like keep a rainy day fund, I went above and beyond. And I kept like a hurricane fund, in case of hurricane.
Yeah.
And it paid off. It definitely did. So I think I was a little proud of like my preparing and everything that sort of culminated in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's a little combination, because it's not just our wedding, because it was like our weddings. We had one in the U.S. here in Edinburgh, and we had another one in Monterrey with my family. But also we got to honeymoon in Europe. We got to visit a ton of different countries in Europe, and then we were still able to have a baby moon.
Yeah.
When we got our first baby.
Yeah.
So we were able to go to New York, and we did the whole Freedom Trail where we started. Where did we start? We started
in Boston. Yes, and we did the Freedom Trail there. That's where the Freedom Trail is.
And then. Well, what would we call it then? If not
we called it our history tour.
It was a history tour, the national treasure,
the revolution, like the revolutionary, like founding fathers, like history tour. That's really what it was.
So we went from the top of Boston,
worked
down to New York.
We went to like the ships where the Boston Tea Party was. We threw tea in the harbor. We walked from the church where, what's his name? I'm forgetting. What is it? One if by land, two if by sea. Yeah. We went to that church. We went to like some museums. We took like a trolley around Boston. We went to like 2 other historical places. We went to like his famous cemeteries.
Washington. In Boston. Yeah. We went to Paul Revere House.
Paul Revere House. Yes. We tried lobster. Lobster was...
I got broiled lobster, and it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting like the Homer Simpson, red, shiny lobster.
Yeah.
I got like this full of breading lobster.
Yeah.
So it was a miss for me, but I think it's my fault. I think I might have ordered it wrong. Yeah, we'll
order something different next time. But then we went to New York City.
Saw Hamilton
on Broadway. Oh my God. I think I cried like 4 times during that show. Ugh. It was amazing.
It was on our baby moon.
It was on our baby
moon. They have a lot of
Yeah.
references to like kids and whatnot, so
yeah,
it's great. And then
we went to like the world. What is it? The one trade.
the One
Center?
World Trade Center.
Yeah, the monument of the Twin Towers.
We had dinner at the tallest floor in New York, and we were able to see the whole skyline.
Yeah, we took the ferry to Statue of Liberty and to Staten Island. We went to like a bunch of Times Square, to Central Park. Ugh, I want to go back so bad to New York. And then we went to Washington, D.C.
I've always been a city boy. Like, I love cities, right? I come from Monterrey, and I love the city. And then I came to Austin because to me, it was like, oh, Monterrey in like the U.S. Like, it's hilly. There's like, it's mountainous in some parts. You have Mount Bonnell or Bonell. I'm not sure how you say it still. It's like Guadalupe, you know, like different pronunciation. Or it's burn it, darn it. But yeah, so I really like the comparison. And then I went to New York, and oh my God, it's like I was in the source, like the city of cities. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, and we stayed across the hall. We stayed across the street from Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
So we were like pretty close to everything. We walked a lot of places. We went to we were a catty corner to like St. Patrick's Cathedral. I can't even remember. I have to like look it up what we did. But we did a lot of stuff. Like we had jam-packed itineraries.
Yeah, we did.
And then we went to Washington, D.C. And if you all didn't know, the National Mall is the park where all the like museums are. The Smithsonian, the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Memorial, all that stuff, right? It's all free. Well, not free. It's like paid by taxpayers. Right?
Yeah. So I tell you, it's prepaid.
It's prepaid. Yeah. So if you ever want to go on a semi like budget conscious trip, Washington D.C. I think is a really good option.
All the Smithsonian.
I think except like one or two of the museums there. Like,
but they're like $3. They're like $10
yeah,
to get in. Like
like we went to like 4 museums. We were there for 2 days, 2 or 3 days. So it was amazing. But yeah, we got to do all of that.
I think like that, like it was my 20s were great because we traveled. I think
a lot.
The cruises, like it's crazy. If I look at my Google Maps, like the amount of points that I have on my journeys or
from
whatever.
From like 25, 26, maybe even later. I think the last like 3 years of our 20s, 3-4 years. Because we were already, it was when we got engaged, just when you open up to traveling more. Because I always wanted to travel. Always.
And what did I tell you?
Always.
It wasn't time. It wasn't time. And then I told you, it's time.
And then we got engaged. And then I remember the first trip we went to, like after that, was like the week after because it was my birthday. And we went to like Galveston. And that was like kind of like, okay, I was first traveling kind of. And we went to like Moody Gardens. We went to like Houston. And then the few months later, we went to California. Like spontaneously, we went to California.
I remember
convincing you, being like, "Hey, there's this comedy show I really want to go to. Yeah. It's not that expensive. Like, we should go."
His name is Bert Kreischer. And I was like, I know Bert Kreischer. I love Bert Kreischer. I'm like, let's do it. How much are the tickets? Well, Austin just got a nonstop flight, and it's $60 to go nonstop.
And we went during the week, so it wasn't expensive. We stayed in a kind of shady hotel, but it was like the cheapest one I could find. It's like the ones that are like the doors outside. Like, you know, the little offices, like you have to walk through the outside to get to the office.
We were in LA when Chris and Victoria were in LA.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
But yeah.
If we would have known them, we could have stayed with them.
So I know, I mean, in our 20s, we were able to hit every corner or like every side of the U.S.
Yes.
So we hit Minnesota. Because Melanie had
we went to go visit Melanie.
And then Texas. Hello, we live here. We went to Florida when we had our
1 year wedding anniversary. Cruise. We went to the cruise there.
And then we hit northeast corner
which is the baby moon.
We went to the baby moon. Northwest, I was still between jobs. We didn't have that much money, but your friend needed to...
I had a friend at work who needed a cat and house sitter. So she let us stay at her house for...
It's like a week, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
It was a really long time.
It was 2 weeks. And we stayed, and we never even saw her. She left the key there. We just went into her apartment.
You know what I remember about that apartment?
The elevator was broken and it was on the 5th floor.
Yeah. The elevator was broken. It was on the 5th floor. Let me repeat that.
Hey, she let us use her car too.
That's true.
And
it was worth it.
It was worth it because we used her apartment, her car, and we had to just pay for our plane tickets. I'm getting kind of coffee now, so.
She lent us her car, and we were able to use that car because, again, that's like now the northwest tip of the U.S.
It was in Seattle.
And we were able to go from Seattle. We got to see Forks from Twilight.
I was living my middle school dream. I went to Forks. You know, Kimberly, as a little girl, would be losing her mind because, you know, I was a Twilight girly.
And then we got to go to Canada.
We went to Canada.
Canada, eh?
We went to a different country. We went to so many countries, and I think it was in 2023. We did all that. We did our honeymoon and the Seattle trip, so we went to a lot of countries in 2023. And then after that, and then California, like we had already been to California.
Yeah, because of the Bert Kreischer.
Bert Kreischer.
So we dipped our toes in every like sea.
Yes,
right?
Even on our honeymoon, I remember. So people gave me a hard time. Multiple people that like you took forever to propose. I remember after like 2 years of being together, they were like, he's not gonna ask you, or he's gonna be like 10 years and you guys aren't gonna be together, or you're not gonna be married. So like, why are you wasting your time?
That's standard in Mexican culture, though.
But yeah, people, my family, friends, people I barely even knew were like, yeah, you're just wasting your time. And I was like, no, like I trusted that you were gonna ask me eventually, and you asked me a little bit after our 5-year anniversary, and I was kind of fine with that. Like now, in the grand scheme of things, don't talk to me back then, right? But like in the grand scheme of things, I think because I had a lot of pressure from people, I think that's more why I was like a little bit impatient. But if I like really look deep down, like I think we got married at the perfect timing. So that happened, and I remember being like, well, all these people can. The phrase I want to say is not very like appropriate, so I won't say, you know, they can, you know what, because I got 2 weddings. One was international in Mexico, right?
You got a destination wedding.
I got a destination wedding, and our honeymoon was just like the best thing ever. Like 2.5 weeks in Europe with just you and me, and it was so awesome. And I remember one of the like excursions we did while we were there, we went to Pompeii and a city called, I always say it wrong, Positano.
I think so, yeah.
It's like a
I think you nailed it, actually.
It's like a beach city. And I remember getting to there, and the story's going to make sense, right? When I say this part. We were taking off our shoes to like put our feet in the water because we have this thing wherever we go to like a new sea or a new part of the world or country or whatever, we put our feet in the water because we want to say like, oh yes, we've been in this water, we've been in that water. We put our feet in the water, and I remember being like, oh, this is nice. And then who came on the radio, Sergio, when we were doing that? Do you remember this?
I don't remember.
Grupo Frontera.
Oh,
which is
yes.
from where I'm from. They're from Edinburgh.
Oh, my God. Yes, I remember that
like,
now.
oh, my God. They're playing.
I'm like, we're in Italy. And we can't get away from the valley.
And then we sat down and ordered drinks. And I remember having a glass of wine in my hand. And I remember being like, this is it. I've peaked. Like, this is too good to be true. Like, I'm here on my honeymoon in Italy. And I just can't what's next? Like, this is all I wanted from life.
We do the same thing again with a baby.
Yes. But yeah, that was the story because I remember going there and being like, this is amazing. So yeah, all that to say, everybody who was like, he's never going to marry you and da-da-da, or he's going to take too long, they were all wrong, and they can eat it.
We did it.
And it was amazing, and it was worth the wait.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would say would be the most memorable things, or the most memorable good things that happened to me in my 20s.
Yeah. So it's now starting to go to your 30s. What are you looking forward to?
In business, you know, you have your scrappy startups, right? You know, you're doing everything you can to weasel by and stay in business, right? But eventually you have to come to a point where you realize it's time to scale.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how it looks like. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm ready to start scaling.
Yeah.
All right. So by that, I mean multiply myself, multiply my efforts, be smart with my efforts. And now that I have some breathing room to start really being effective with my skills, my time, my money, everything. So I'm excited for our new baby.
Yes.
And getting to see her grow up. She's already growing up so much. We're having to put onesies up already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that. But I'm looking forward to personal growth and family growth.
Yeah.
It's so weird because for the longest time, I thought family and it's like my sisters and my parents. Now it's us.
Now it's us and our baby and any future babies we have.
Yes. And our families. Our extended families too.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing how we're all gonna grow together.
Yeah.
So here's to my 30s.
Happy birthday.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode
20.
Oh, wait, hold on. No, stop the music. Okay. The top podcasts.
Okay.
We're
we're going back to the first thing.
Let's go back to the first thing. Okay. So to position yourself amongst the top 1% of consistently pervasive podcasts, you have to know that 90% of podcasts don't progress beyond their third episode.
Oh, hey, look at us.
And those that do, another 90% of those don't reach 20 episodes.
So this is the episode.
Therefore, by producing and releasing at least 21 episodes, you would already be in the top 1% of podcasters in terms of commitment and output.
So that's next episode.
That's going to be our next episode. So, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the Partnered Up Podcast. I'm Sergio.
And I'm Kimberly.
And we'll see you on our 21st episode.
Yes, bye.
Bye.